Good morning, gorgeous. How are you doing today? I hope you're having a great day so far. Welcome to my channel. I'm Dr. Michelle Dabb, and I'm so happy that you're here. We're talking about the ways that you can bloom in your marriage by wisdom from your mother. We've been talking about things that your mama should have taught you, and I'm excited for today's video because we're talking about marriage. And I want to discuss 3 things that your mother should have taught you about marriage. Now, this is a really important topic for me because I was one of those women when I was a little girl. I just loved love and marriage and romance and all of the all of that stuff. Like, I just loved it. I actually had maladaptive daydreaming where I would just constantly think of romantic situations for years. And it wasn't until I actually got saved and Jesus delivered me from that. But it was important for me to know that although I was having these beautiful daydreams and I had this desire, that God would actually give me more than I daydreamed about. God blessed me with the most beautiful love story and marriage and all the things, more than I was even dreaming about. But there were things that I needed to learn in order to be a good wife, in order to keep the things that I was given, in order to honor my marriage and myself and actually get the best out of the beautiful situation that I was gifted. So I always wanted to know about how to be in a marriage, how to be a great wife, how to make my husband happy, all of those little things, right? But I grew up in a home where my parents were divorced, so I never got to see a husband and wife interacting and see what makes it work and what doesn't make it work. I also wasn't given any conversations about marriage and that sort of thing. So I was always looking to magazines and movies and getting advice from all of the wrong people and learning that way. So I ended up making so many mistakes, learning all the wrong stuff, trying out all the wrong stuff, and it was a very painful experience. So that's why it means so much to me to be able to be blessed with this wisdom from God and from all of the knowledge I've gained as a psychologist and the books and the people I've met and the relationships I've been in, just gathering all of this knowledge and wisdom to share it with you, because so many of you didn't have mothers telling you about being a wife. Many of you maybe had mothers that had a marriage and they did all the things, but they didn't actually pass it down to you. Or maybe you didn't have mothers at all. You didn't have the experience of having a mother who poured into you. Maybe you were a foster child or adopted and you just didn't have that motherly figure in your life that was willing to pour into you more than just your basic needs. So that's why you're here, because God loves you and He brought you here. And we're going to talk today about 3 things that your mother should have taught you about marriage. Now, I only wanted to give you 3 because I don't want it to be too long. I want you to really dive deep into these things and ask yourself whether or not you're doing these things. If you want to be married one day, which I hope you do, I want you to take these things in and pray about them and ask God to start preparing you for all of these things, because marriage is beautiful. And here on this channel, we value love, we value marriage, we value family and connection and growing in love and God and all things femininity. You know, it's the fall, so all the pumpkin stuff is smothering us, right? I'm drinking this pumpkin spice cold brew from Trader Joe's, and let me tell you, it's good stuff. So I want you to go ahead and sit back, relax, get something to drink, get something to write with, and let's talk about this. Actually, before we start the video, just an announcement. I want to mention that I'm going to be in Georgia on October 5th at the Ready to Bloom conference as one of the speakers. I'm actually going to be the keynote speaker, speaking about femininity and love and marriage and womanhood and God. It's going to be at a church, and I'm really excited for women to get together and talk about this. So if you are in Georgia, please get your tickets. Oftentimes I'm at an event speaking and I get so many people asking me and I'm like, girl, the tickets are sold out. So I want to make sure I start announcing it a little bit earlier. October 5th, Lawrenceville, Georgia. Join all of these beautiful women for the Ready to Bloom conference. I'm excited and I hope to see you there. Now a message from today's sponsor of this video, BetterHelp. With the trials that life brings, the constant changes in our society, and the excessive consumption of social media can fuel things like depression, anxiety, and just bring about many mental health concerns. This highlights the importance of having a safe space for your mental wellness. That is why I want to introduce you to BetterHelp. BetterHelp provides therapy, making it easy to get the support that you need. With around 32,000 qualified therapists across various specialties, BetterHelp offers affordable rates across different services. If you need guidance in making life choices, or you just need someone to vent to and help sort out your thoughts, BetterHelp can help. When you reach out to BetterHelp, they will match you with the most suitable therapist based on your needs. And you can switch therapists if you need a better fit. BetterHelp provides therapy sessions that are convenient and comfortable. Whether you prefer online, text, audio, video calls, their professional therapists are adaptable to your needs. Are you ready to begin your journey? Visit the link in the description below at betterhelp.com/Dr. Michelle to enjoy 10% discount on your first month. That's betterhelp.com/Dr. Michelle. Thank you so much, BetterHelp, for sponsoring today's video for all of these beautiful women. The first thing that your mother should have taught you about marriage is to lean not on your own understanding. When it comes to marriage, there are so many things that are going to happen. Okay, first you fall in love, then you get married, then you're living together, and it's like on cloud nine. But as time goes on, things start to happen. Like, you're both humans, you have different personalities and lives, and with that will come little disagreements, conflicts, misunderstandings. And so what happens oftentimes in marriages is that these little tiny offenses will happen, and they will turn into bigger and bigger and bigger issues that then become a huge issue that can sometimes lead to divorce. It's like having a water balloon filled up with water and taking a little needle and just putting little holes in it. And as time goes on, it's going to completely deflate, right? Like, the water is going to all come out, even though the needle is so tiny. So it's important that we're not telling ourselves certain stories that are not true in our minds that lead us down a road of negativity. So what this looks like is you giving meaning to certain situations. And again, this video is deep. Like, we're going deep because this is the stuff that actually ruins or builds marriages, okay? When a situation happens, my dear, your husband says something and it's like, excuse me? You're not making up a story about what he's saying. You're not giving meaning to things that are incorrect. If he said something, you can take it as, okay, maybe he meant it like this, or maybe he's upset. Maybe he's really tired. Maybe he's really hungry. We do this all the time for babies, right? When you have a little kid, even a toddler, and you notice that like they're starting to get really cranky, you start thinking, okay, are they hungry? Are they tired? Do they hurt themselves? Like, you start trying to figure it out. But for adults, we don't do that. We just automatically react, or we tell ourselves a certain story. It's important that you learn in general to start giving more leeway in situations in terms of the meanings behind it. You're the one as a wife that determines how something is going to enter you. So if he says something to you, right, you're going to receive it, but you determine how you receive it. You can receive it as, he didn't like the food tonight and he didn't eat it, so clearly I'm not that great of a wife because I can't seem to cook well. And I don't even understand why he married me, because clearly I am, short in this area. And you start telling yourself this, you start giving meaning to it. When really he could have just stopped eating because his mind is on something else, or he had like a really late lunch and he's not hungry. Or maybe he just didn't like it and it wasn't his thing. Like, he doesn't like salad. He wants rice and something strong and thick. A salad is just too flimsy, right? But if you start telling yourself this thing, you're going to start keeping resentments. Like maybe you won't say anything. You'll just throw the salad into the trash, but you're remembering, you're thinking, okay, all right, this is how he's going to treat me after I took time and created this honey walnut salad for him. Stop doing that. Do not lean on your own understanding of anything that happens in the marriage. Talk to him. Talk to God. Take it in with positivity and give yourself leeway for certain things. Like, this is just what happens when you cook. Sometimes people don't like it. Instead of saying, I'm a really bad chef, I don't know how to make this, right? You just have to give yourself a little bit more breathing room with situations. Oftentimes in marriages, there's a lot of false thinking. There are a lot of things that happen where we just start creating stories in our mind, and it actually causes problems. Instead of just talking about it, instead of just praying about it or dealing with it, we create something in our mind that leads us down a very dark path. Then you start getting into suspicions and investigating and lying and gossiping, and all of these other dark things start happening because of false thinking. I hear this term a lot where people will say that they have like main character energy. They're the main character in their lives. We have this like, oh, it's all about me attitude. But it's like, girl, you're the main character and your character is suffering. A lot of you ladies have an idea that you're the main character in your life, but you don't know how to manage your own character. You don't know what you're doing. So open up your mind. It's not about you anymore when you get married. It's about the both of you. Things are not going to go your way. Things are going to be upsetting. There are going to be issues here and there. There are going to be things that he does that he doesn't even realize he did. So don't lean on your own understanding. In the Bible, it says to trust in the Lord with all of your heart and lean not on your own understanding. When we trust God, instead of just lashing out at him, we do what God asks us to do, to have that gentle and quiet spirit where we can take something in and we can pray about it and think about it and then address him in a respectful way, or whatever God asks you to do, we obey that. We end up with the results that God would want us to have. As a wife, if you lean on your own understanding, you're going to be leaning and leaning and leaning on something that's not very sturdy, and girl, you're going to fall. So this is necessary. Stop telling yourself stories. Stop creating bigger situations than what you see, and give your own meaning to situations that allow for breathing room for things to just be as they are without it being anything deeper. This is actually one of the biggest parts of being a feminine woman. As a feminine woman, you let things sort of just roll off. Not everything, of course, but many things. It's like, oh, came home a little later today. Okay. You know, this is something I'm going to talk about a little bit more later, but it is important to have that balance of masculine and feminine energy. And sometimes I can be in my feminine energy a little bit too much as a wife. And my husband will sometimes say, like, you're not even going to ask me? I'm like, no, I don't care. But he wants me to ask him. Like, he wants to make sure I'm just crossing all my T's and dotting all of my I's. But sometimes I'm just like, so it is important, of course, not to get so far into your feminine that you don't react about anything. That is something I need to work on. But I think most women are on the other side of that, where they're reacting off of everything, where everything is a conversation, everything needs an explanation, everything bothers you. You're hurt about everything. Like, you don't know how to just let things roll off. We have to practice that. Lean not on your own understanding, but trust in the Lord and do things God's way in terms of handling the thoughts that come into your mind. Cast down those negative thoughts. Throw out those evil imaginations. Stop thinking about all the negativity that could come out of whatever that situation is, and take it for what it is and move on. The second thing that your mother should have taught you, my love, is that your role as a wife is to be your husband's helpmeet. Yes, I know this irritates people because many women have the wrong perception about wifehood and womanhood. And many women are just so obsessed with trying to be equal in their eyes to their husband that they don't accept the role that God actually gave them. If you don't use something the way that it was intended to be used, you do not get the maximum benefits of it. And so many women are not getting the maximum benefits of being a wife because they're not doing their role correctly. They're not willing to accept what their designer, God, designed them to be in their marriage, which is a helpmeet. You are your husband's helper. That is your role as a wife. He is the head and you are the body. You're the one that helps him funnel out those ideas, take care of things that he may have missed. If he asks you to do something, you are there to help, to serve him. He is your Lord. Yeah, that is something your mother should have taught you. This is actually the reason why so many marriages suffer, is because we are out of alignment. We are out of our proper functioning. And so as women who are trying to just do and be and lead and match and all of the extra stuff, men honestly don't know what to do with that. It's actually women, I think, who have the much bigger identity crisis in terms of who they are, what their role is, and how to show up as a woman and how to show up as a wife. They actually have the most confusion, and maybe that's because of what happened originally in the garden. But it's women. It's women who are usually shaking up this whole confusion and dysfunction in terms of roles. So men oftentimes don't know what to do with that, and then we have lots and lots of issues. Ideally, women are the homemakers. They're the ones that are taking care of whatever their husband needs them to take care of. They're the ones that are taking care of the home so it's comfortable and it's a pleasant place for him to be and recharge and have his needs met, like basic needs. But it's also the responsibility of the woman to do whatever it is that will help her husband the most. So maybe your husband doesn't need you to do all that. Maybe he actually needs you to probably, do whatever it is that he wants you to do, but not like the typical homemaking things. But you're still there. You're still reachable. You're still available. You're still willing to drop what you're doing. It's not to say you have to stay at home, but if you do work a job, it's fine. But are you willing to drop it if he needed you to drop it? Would that be an issue? Society tells us that our worth is wrapped up in our identity, in what we do, in titles, all the letters in front of your name, behind your name, around your name. Like, that's what makes you important. That's what makes your life notable, valuable, worth living. What job you have, right? So a lot of women just can't fathom the idea of being their husband's helpmeet. And it's not even like a financial thing. Let's move finances aside. Let's say finances were not an issue. You were going to be able to live comfortably without working outside of the home. If you were even asked to work inside of the home and drop your job as a dentist or drop your job working as a massage therapist, you would not be able to do it because you feel like that is your identity. When really, as a married woman, your identity is to be a helpmeet to your husband. So if you cannot drop it, then why? Why is that? If he needed you in a different capacity. And it's not just as a helpmeet like with the house, it's a helpmeet mentally. It's a helpmeet emotionally. It's how you speak to him. You're that battery that he plugs into to recharge, to get to full potential. Like, you're the one that cheers him on. You're the one that helps him to establish whatever it is that his vision is for the family. You are so important to him. And when you think of the word help me, it's like you're the same, you're equal. A man is not greater than a woman. You come together. That's that meeting point. You meet. And with that meeting point is where the chemistry and all of the good stuff happen. That's where things are birthed. So as a wife, you must have that mentality that you're not less than, you're not being used, you're not devalued because you are your husband's helpmeet, because you're available to do what he needs, because you're under his leadership, you're under his covering, you're under him in the sense that he's guiding. If you talk about things as you should, but he makes a final decision, that is the final decision, because that is his authority given to him by God. As long as he is submitted to God, as long as he is under God, meaning he's not asking you to do things that are against your relationship with God, the things that God has asked us to do as people who are in Christ, as long as he's not telling you to do something outside of that, you're under him and his guidance, his direction, his leadership, all of that. So this is really tough for women in this culture, because we're told so many things, and it's very difficult to be married to someone when you cannot be in the role that God created you to be in. There's going to be constant fighting, constant friction, constant misunderstandings, and this undercurrent of rivalry where you're also trying to be seen, trying to be honored, trying to lead, trying to be noticed. You're trying to have all of these things from him when that's not what he needs from you. There's a clash there. So remember, you are your husband's helpmeet. You are the one that is there with a gentle and quiet spirit, one that can receive from your husband. You can receive guidance and direction, and he doesn't have to keep telling you the same things over and over because you didn't get to it the first time, because you don't really want to do it, and all the things. I have an entire playlist about how to be a wonderful wife in terms of like doing things the way God would want you to do it. So you can look at that playlist. It's called His Crown, and you can look at like very specific characteristics in yourself as a woman that will bless your husband and your marriage as a wife. So check that out if you want to go deeper into this, but this is something your mother should have taught you. You are a helpmeet to your husband. You are under his authority. Your submission to his will for the family and for the marriage is your priority. And this one, I'm just going to give it to you for free. This is not part of my list, but I'm just going to go ahead and say it, girl. Sex is not a reward. It's not. There are many ideologies that people come up with that are rooted in evil, that try to use sex as a manipulation, as a reward system, as a tactic, as a obligation, as all kinds of stuff in marriage. Okay. Sex is not a reward. It's not something that you do to tell your husband good job. It's not something that you do because it's his birthday. It's not something that you do on your terms because you decided that, okay, you will. It's something embedded into the marriage for the two of you as a covenant agreement, as a covenant renewal, reminder to God of the beautiful union that you're in. It's something that blesses your marriage. It is not something to be messed with, because this can ruin your marriage. It is something that should be a priority to you. And I know it's so hard because there's a lot of issues around sex, especially if you had sex before you got married with other men. There are so many issues that you could possibly have with your body, how you feel about it. There are also just issues with life, like having children and your body changing, or your own body image, or feeling too tired. But if there are issues around sex, then deal with the issues, because it's not going anywhere. Sex is on the table when you're married. Okay, sex is on the table, it's in the bed, no, just kidding. Sex is something that you need to talk about when you're married, and it's something you need to participate in with a smile, with joy, with happiness, with love. So if there are issues around that, which for most people there probably are, then that is why you must see a therapist and try to get to the root of those things. And that's why it's important for you to pray and ask God to heal you in those areas, to get delivered and free from those things that are holding you back from giving everything to your husband, or having the energy or the time or the ideas or the newness, whatever it's missing. Ask God, because he's the one that created this for you, for marriage. He will help you. Okay, now let's actually get to number 3. The very last thing that I want to mention is so important, and I hope that your mother did teach you, but if she didn't, it's okay. You are the greatest influence for your husband. Let that sink in. I've been talking to God and just asking the Lord to send me more godly friends, because friendships is a whole other issue, but I've always desired to have more women who were in Christ after I got saved. I just wanted more friends who knew God. Okay, that's something that just meant a lot to me. And as a mother now, it's kind of hard to just be out there meeting people, but God has been so good, and He's brought me so many beautiful women who are in Christ, and it's been beautiful to have these kinds of relationships because you have great conversations. And one of my friends recently just told me this like great revelation that God gave her about Eve in the garden. We'll talk about that more later, but she was telling me about how Eve had so much influence over Adam, so much influence that he was able to disregard what the Lord had told him to do and listen to his wife. Like, that's how much influence she had, more influence than a command from God. Women are so powerful in that way, but because of what happened in the garden, because of Eve's disobedience and sin entering into her, it has just polluted the way that we women use our influence over men. So our influence over men is now highly sexualized, or it's rooted in witchcraft. A lot of it is just pure evil, and many women don't know how much their influence actually drives men. So with your husband being a man, this is important for you to know and know how to exercise this influence. Your husband is greatly influenced by you, by everything that you do, whether you see it or not. Your husband can change his entire life through you. As a woman who loves God, who loves Him, and who loves yourself, you are the perfect person to help your husband to grow. And if he has achievement, if he has things that he doesn't really know how to get to or see himself getting to, you're the perfect person to help guide him to that. It's important that we use our influence as wives to get our husbands to do the things that matter, the things that are going to make him a great man, the family to have a great legacy. If your husband is in politics, or your husband's a business owner, or he's a principal, if he's in any position where he has any kind of influence or power, you are the perfect person to help him to change the policies, to change how things are done for the betterment of the world. Like, you are so influential and powerful. You have no idea. Everything that men do, they do it for women. The cars they buy, the clothes they wear, like all the stuff these men are doing. When you go out and you go to like a big party or something, or let's say you go to an event and you see all the men, like they're just literally lined up with their hands in their pockets half of the time, just there because they're there for the women. The women are there, they're laughing, they're talking to each other, they're dancing, they're eating, they're having a great time, and the men are just there because they're there for you. They're there for one thing, and everything that they do, everything that they achieve, it's because they want that recognition, they want that love, they want the affection and the adoration of women. It's powerful. Your body as a woman is so powerful. It's not to be mishandled, but there's so much good that you can do with your marriage, knowing that you have this kind of influence over your husband. It's not to be manipulative, and it's not to get him to be like what you think he should be, but it's for you to be able to see where things can change and help him grow and help everyone grow through him. You're so powerful in that way. And marriage is so powerful in that way. When the two of you are in agreement on something, there's nothing you cannot do. That's like the synergy that transforms the world. That's why the devil hates marriages. That's why marriages are always under attack. That's why people are constantly getting divorced. It's because it is so powerful. Your influence as a woman, as a wife, is so powerful over your husband. It's important that you know that. and that you use your femininity in a great way by showing him respect and honor and love and forgiveness and doing everything that you can to bless that marriage. In turn, you will get much more than you put in. So as a wife, watch yourself. Watch how you speak to your husband. Watch how you interact with him. Make sure that you're smiling. Make sure that you have a warm countenance. Make sure that you are paying attention to your role, because you're in a position, just like having a job, you're in a position, like this is a role. This is a position that you're in. You can't just wing it and just do whatever you want and do whatever you feel and just act however you want, because your behavior directly influences your husband. It changes his mood. It changes his temperament. It can cause diseases to enter into him. It can cause true depression and lots of other very negative things, or it can take him completely out of it. You can just change the trajectory of his life with your influence. So stop nagging all the time and complaining all the time and criticizing him, and change your mind. Repent and really see your marriage as a blessing, because he is blessed by marrying you, but you are blessed by how you influence him. Of course, one of the greatest influences that you can have on your husband is influencing him to be a man of God, to walk in godliness, to just shine as a man of God. And that will trickle down to your children. It will help your community, and it will help the world. If more women were great influences to their husband and could influence them so much that they would actually grow closer to the Lord just by how you treat him, just by him watching you, him being so moved by that he then gets drawn into what you're drawn into. You have that power, my love, and I want you to use it. I love you so much, and I thank you for taking time to listen to this. Of course, these are not all the things that you need to know as a wife. There are so many, and many wives would benefit from going to premarital counseling if you have not and you want to get married. It's important for the two of you to sit down with someone and go through these things before getting together. But until then, we're here. You can come and listen to my content. You can leave me requests and let me know what you want me to talk about. Let me know in the comments what you wish your mother would have taught you about being married, if you're not married or if you're already married. If you love content like this, especially if you want to really learn how to be an excellent, loving, feminine wife, then listen to my podcast, The Dr. Daff Show, because I'm going through a book called Fascinating Womanhood, where we're talking about how to be an incredible wife, to just awaken your husband's deepest love and tenderness towards you. So make sure to listen to my podcast. And with that, may the Lord bless you and keep you. May he make his face shine upon you and be gracious to you. May the Lord give you his perfect peace. Nothing missing, nothing broken. Bye-bye.